Yeah, yeah, no. And the guy don't want it to be a fight.
What's good? What's good? It's KGV, your faith in the building. Hey, yo, check out my new music, Harlem Nights in Indianapolis. Know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? No copy and paste here, baby. It's all original lyrics, bars, whatever, substance, all that. Know what I mean? I'd like to thank y'all and, with all deepness and gratefulness of my heart for y'all, checking out my podcast, listening to my music, following me and what I be on and be about. Now, I mean, today we're talking about America being built by immigrants versus Black Americans, that been here since 1513 before Jamestown. You know what I mean? Because people always even say, like, it started in 1619 when the first slaves came to Jamestown, but it was people in Florida and St. Augustine back in like 1565. Then we have people in 1526, and then original people was 1513. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said before, when Haiti talked about, oh, I rewrote and we the ones to encourage others. No, y'all wasn't, because like I tell people, there was no internet. There was no Morse codes, no newspapers. And then plus, my ancestors couldn't even relate to that anyway because they wasn't taught to read and write, and it was illegal for them to do such things. They can get killed for that. You know what I'm saying? But the real revolt actually happened in the 1500s in America. Before it was America, 100 slaves went free and they went to live among the Indians. And that's a real success story because they in a place that's a first world nation of superpower. You know what I'm saying? Haiti's on the other side of the island of Dominican Republic. And they suffering. So how is that successful? And they've been independent since 1804. But I ain't dragging them. I'm just saying we need to live in truth. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to run with cloud and make it something it's not. You know what I'm saying? But this video here is talking about, like I said, about immigrants building America. Now, I'm going to listen to the video and give y'all my commentary, straightforward, transparent commentary with no clout chasing, no sugarcoating or anything. Truth is truth, lies is lies. And you're going to see today that when it comes to immigrants, it ain't what people think it is. The settlers did not build America, this continent, and neither did the immigrants build it like that. The infrastructure, the money people needed to build America was off the backs of my ancestors. You know what I'm saying? Without my ancestors, who was worth more than people's land and houses and was worth in the billions of dollars, was without them ancestors of mine, there wouldn't be no money for bridges or subway stations or anything of that nature that the immigrants did have parts in. But when people of Black descent in America talks about building America, basically what we're saying is that it was already built, it was pre-built, so y'all just add little features and stuff to it, but without the infrastructure, without our free labor and all that, there wouldn't have been, America wouldn't be rich. It wouldn't have the money to build bridges. It wouldn't have money for subways. It wouldn't have money for anything on that level. It could have ended up a third world country without Black Americans, FBAs, and ADOS. You know what I'm saying? That had nothing to do with immigrants, because I think people forgetting that there was a time when immigrants wasn't even allowed over here until the civil rights movement happened. But anyway, we gonna get into it, and I'm gonna show y'all the straight facts about this whole situation, because I heard what the mayor of New York said, and he was actually capping that it was not the way he make it seem.
America loves to say we are a nation of immigrants, but let's tell the truth today. Immigrants didn't build America. Black Americans did. Not immigrants, not visitors, not newcomers. The people who built America were the ones who had no choice, the ones stolen, the ones enslaved, the ones unpaid. This is the real foundation. Let's break it down. Number one, America's wealth was built before mass immigration even started. The wave of European immigration that America brags about, it started in the late 1800s and early 1900s. By then, America was already wealthy, industrialized, globally powerful. And why was it powerful? Because for 246 years, enslaved black people created cotton, tobacco, sugar, rice, infrastructure, skilled labor, domestic labor, all for free. Immigrants came to enjoy a country that black labor had already built. Number two, America's first big economy was 100% powered by enslaved Africans. Cotton was called King Cotton. It was funded by banks, or it funded banks, it funded insurance companies, the stock market, railroads, Wall Street, universities, factories. Without cotton grown by enslaved black people, America would have remained a struggling colony. Immigrants didn't build that, black Americans did. Number three, immigrants came to a finished table. Black Americans built the table. Immigrants arrived to paved streets, functioning government, booming industries, established wealth, free land from Native Americans, opportunities that already existed. They came into a system black people had already been forced to build. This is why you hear immigrants came with $5 and became successful. Yes, because the foundation was already built. Number four, black Americans built more than the economy. They built the culture. Black Americans built American music, American style, American language, American sports, American identity, American innovation. Immigrants assimilate into black created culture. The influence is undeniable. Even today, hip hop, fashion, slangs, rhythm, it all comes from black America. Now, let me go to the last point.
I even see Somalians. I seen Somalians in the little space talking like a little conference thing, and they was talking Black Americans, and then Somali was talking slang and all that stuff, and then they quick to say we have no culture, but y'all talking like us. All of y'all do that. Jamaicans, Puerto Ricans, all of y'all Haitian, all of y'all dress like us, talk like us, trying to steal our culture, lie about hip hop, all that. You know what I'm saying? And even now I heard people talking about the Jamaican culture and the reggae and all that. That's still a spinoff of black people's music in America, and that's facts. The OGs would tell you that they were trying to emulate the Motown sound, which is black American music. So when people be like, "Oh, reggae and this," I'm like, "Dude, it still was basically emulating us and stealing from what we do and making that." I don't really want to call it stealing because I respect reggae. I like reggae. But you know what I mean? Like that come from us still.
That's the fifth one. If you remove black Americans from history, America collapses. Imagine America without black inventors, black culture, black labor, black soldiers.
One more thing. I rock with Pete Rock, Busta Rhyme, Fat Joe, you know what I'm saying? But they all trying to make hip hop seem like it came from reggae, Jamaica, and Cool Herc, which is not a lie. My twin brother know Cool Herc personally, you know what I'm saying? I grew up in Pound Pioneers. And he even said that he didn't create hip hop. He didn't even create the word he didn't even create the word hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Then when people talk about break beats, there was people already doing what Cool Herc was doing before Cool Herc was doing it. DJ Disco Mario and a couple of other people. So I don't understand why people keep trying to lie and deceive and all that. They say, "Oh, the breakdancing." Y'all, first of all, I was there. Y'all ain't come around to the '80s. Y'all should call it Jungle Bunny music or call it Jungle Bunnies and Moranos and all type of stuff. The N word, everything. You know what I'm saying? So it's always like that because Busta Rhymes has a Jamaican background, Caribbean background, so does P Rock, and so does Fat Joe. That's why they trying to co-sign it and make it seem like hip hop started from them or the dance and all that. Really, because if you go back to 1910s, 20s, all that, you could see black American folks dancing like that. You know what I'm saying? from the Nicholas brothers all the way down to the Sandman from the Apollo, you know what I'm saying? Gregory Hines. I can go on. For real, for real. You know what I'm saying? I seen somebody try to say that Michael Jackson stole somebody's stuff, and in actuality, he got a lot of that moves he did from Fred Astaire, and that's facts. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? Let's keep going.
Black activists, you lose the traffic light, you lose the peacemaker, you lose the gas mask, you lose the refrigerator truck, you lose peanut products, you lose much of American music.
People spring up peanut butter with Black Americans, and they think George Washington Carver created peanut butter, but he did a lot of things with the peanut, but he did not create peanut butter. I don't know. I know people think that because of the, he experimented a lot with the peanut, but he didn't make peanut butter. Also, he is the one who actually created the assembly line that Henry Ford used at the Ford company for his cars. He didn't create that assembly line. He was friends with George Washington Carver, and George Washington Carver created the assembly line that the Ford company used to build their cars, and that's facts.
You lose the civil rights protections, the moral backbone of the nation. America, without Black America, is not America. Immigrants didn't create that, they benefited from it. Anyway, just watch this video so they keep ranting, oh, they did this, they did that. And then I'll come with the closing of this, right? Just watch it and see.
The majority of Americans across the country, regardless of political party, know that immigrants from all over the world, Somalia, India, wherever they're from, Latin America, Africa, that immigrants have built this country and make this country what it is today.
I want you to pay attention to what she did. Look at every place she mentioned. And what do they all have in common? I'm going to give you 3 to 4 seconds to think about that. What do they all have in common? Yeah, it's that she didn't mention anywhere white people came from. She mentioned everywhere but Europe. Funny how that works, isn't it? From like the 1600s till the let's say like the 1960s, 90 to 96% of all immigrants to the United States were white Europeans. So she's using careful wording to make it seem like non-white immigrants played a bigger role than what they did. So yes, immigrants did play a major role in building this country, but it wasn't Somalis and it wasn't a bunch of people from India. Immigrants.
Actuality, he's wrong, because he's like, hey, 96% and this and that other, and it was Europe. Actually, settlers and European immigrants, the only level that he's talking, that's not true. And we're going to get into that later on, because I'm going to debunk what he's saying as well. Because your European people came over here. But you'll see later on when I talk about it, because I like to cross my T's and dot my I's. So let's get going.
Immigrants that played the biggest role were white Europeans, is what it is. But it's not convenient to her narrative, so she wants to try to manipulate people into thinking something else.
It's funny because you're being a hypocrite, because technically you're doing the same thing.
It's actually quite irritating for me, because it's not giving credit where it's due, and it's painting a picture that is not true. But
I believe in giving credit where it's due when it's true and it's actually due there. You don't know what you're talking about, buddy.
As we know, they have to manipulate people's perception for political reasons. Anyway, just a reminder, I have a free email newsletter I send out every morning at 7 a.m. That's a great place to get direct information from me, and one of the only places I can't be censored. The link's in my profile. Just go to my profile, click the link. You'll see a little screen for you to drop your email in, hit subscribe, and you'll be good to go. Anyway, that's all I got for now. We'll see you in the next one.
Zora Mandani said New York was built by immigrants. And woke Black Americans are already upset. They claim his statement that immigrants built this country is completely wrong.
And it is.
The George Washington Bridge, built by a Swiss immigrant. The Brooklyn Bridge, built by a German immigrant.
See, this is why this is misinformation, because she's talking about the architects. She's talking about the architect of the Brooklyn Bridge. She's talking about the architect of the George Washington Bridge. They didn't build it. They didn't build it far as like actually building it. They designed it. But physically building is not the same thing. So when you say, oh, George Washington Bridge was built by somebody from Sweden or in the Brooklyn Bridge was built by somebody from Germany. That's misinformation because it was designed by a German person. It was designed by someone from Sweden, but it wasn't built by those two guys. It was designed by them. See how misinformation go about because she don't know what she's talking about. It was designed. Architecture was done by a German guy, or the George Washington Bridge by a Sweden guy. But as far as being actually built physically, it was not no German and Sweden guys.
America wasn't built by one group. It was built by the collective
Actuality, because I don't want to keep stopping, but actuality to the foundation of America, the growth of the wealth, and even most of its infrastructure, majority of the infrastructure of America, no matter which state you in, whatever, with Black Americans, and that's facts. But like I said, we're going to get into that in a little bit.
blood, sweat, and sacrifice of many indigenous
She's not even from America. You can hear her accent like, dude, y'all be talking a lot, but y'all be having misinformation or trying to be like on some pick-me stuff like, oh, look at me. I know what I'm talking about. And you don't.
communities, enslaved Africans, immigrants, and everyday citizens who all shaped this country's backbone. Yes, Black Americans made monumental contributions.
And most people are upset with the mayor of New York, not just because of what he said, but because he didn't even mention enslaved Africans. He didn't even mention the fact that enslaved Africans in New York actually was freedmen that actually had Seneca Village, their own town, downtown where Central Park is at now, used to be Seneca Village. Land bought by Black people, Black Americans, free and clear, build their own houses and town banks and all that, and then they got taken over by Central Park. Real talk, you know what I'm saying? But let's keep going.
Black Americans did not build America alone. Their impact is undeniable. But
If somebody build a skyscraper, or if somebody build infrastructure, and you come along and put some light bulbs in, that's a big difference. If you already build it on stuff that's already here, that's a big difference. So when you say, oh, they didn't build it alone, actually they did. Y'all just added stuff to it. Y'all added stuff to that stuff that's already built. It's like me, my friend building sand castles on the beach, and I come and put little flags on them. Did I build a sand castle? No, I just enhanced it. That's all.
saying we built this country erases others who also paid the price of progress. The truth is, America was built by everyone. Same Black Americans built.
Let me make one more point. The same thing I said about Fat Joe, the same thing I said about Pete Rock and Busta Rhymes, because they're Caribbean. Of course, they're going to say hip hop. They have something to do with hip hop or reggae. You know, the Jamaican people have something to do with hip hop, which they did, and they try to use Cool Herc as a scapegoat, which is falsehood. You know what I'm saying? Just like her. She doing the same thing. You hear her accent because she's an immigrant. Of course, she's going to co-sign that. She's not going to go with truth. She's going to go with something that's going to make them a part of something that they wasn't really a part of. But anyway, let's keep going.
This country alone, that is just straight up wrong.
Protect illegal immigrants or protect homeless veterans?
Illegal immigrants.
Why?
Because America was built off illegal immigrants, and immigrants
Actually, it wasn't. And veterans deserve more respect and more backing and resources because they fight for our freedom. They fight to keep America safe. You know what I'm saying? So for her to say what she's saying, she need to go somewhere. She has no respect for America or they veterans.
coming into this country, and I feel like they should have rights too.
And you see, she says she feels. She don't think. Two different things. And she feels like, oh, I think that immigrants should be protected, illegal immigrants, really. And then he says illegal immigrants. And you think that's cool. That just shows how the lawlessness run in this world.
Just like everybody else.
But they're illegal.
Well, there's a system to get them legal, so there's still people at the end of the day treat everybody with respect. And
So you trying to tell me if they're illegal already here, that's illegal. That's fine and penalties. That's consequences. So that sounds stupid because that's like me sinning against God. But before I sin, I ask God to forgive me for I ever committed a sin. How does that work? It don't work. You know what I'm saying? That's like a form of manipulation, a form of getting over on people. You know what I'm saying? So you trying to say they should be able to come in this country illegally and then still get paperwork to stay permanently or legally, that make sense. That she sounds stupid.
care. They're nothing different than you.
The veterans fought for the country, though.
Yes, but your homelessness is not something that other people should be paying for. And, manage your
Really? So the people that's veterans, she sound like a, oh my gosh, Lord Yeshua. She sounds so idiotic. First of all, she's saying that that's not like, basically like homeless veterans is not our problem. That's on them. But they the ones who went and fought for us and protect us and sacrificed their very lives for us, and we're not their problem personally. She sounds stupid.
money correctly.
Oh
You
my
won't be
God.
homeless.
What she's saying is actually not true. We were founded by settlers, not immigrants. You know what I mean? Like there's kind of, it's a difference.
And actually, settlers didn't build America, but they did find it. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with them a little bit. But we all know who built this country, and it wasn't immigrants the way they're saying. But let's keep going.
And then we established like a way where people could come in legally. Like we have a border. I hate that whole narrative that a bunch of just legals just piled over the border all the time.
Right.
And that's how America was founded. Bullshit. That's not the way it is. That's not the way it works. That's not who we are. We are Americans. People come over legally and they have to like apply to get in here. How is that lost on people on the left? There is a difference between legal and illegal immigration. My God, why is this so hard?
So I just got called xenophobic for saying that immigrants did not build New York City. Immigrants did not build the United States of America. I don't care which way you want to turn the key. I don't care if you came here.
People were trying to call other people xenophobic, and they don't even know what the term means or the definition, anything. It just sound like a word to use to dismiss or deflect. Man, most of the people that use it don't even know what the word means, like what the fullness of the word means. They just run with it because they hear other people saying it.
Here with 50 cents. I don't care if you swam over here, if you caught a boat, a plane, a train. I don't care how you got here. If you came here once the United States of America was established as a country and you have immigrant status or an immigrant background, you did not. You nor your ancestors nor your forefathers built this country. It is a slap in the face for all of the free labor, for all of the paid labor, the pennies paid, the blood, sweat, and tears that our ancestors poured into this country. There's some Caucasian Americans who also their ancestors helped to build this country. But a lot of you all that come over here, the Mom Dondi, the Zorons, the new mayor of New York City, he's talking about New York was built by immigrants and it's going to remain an immigrant city. No, the fuck it was not built by immigrants. That's so disrespectful. Now, did they add to what was already built? Yes. To be an immigrant literally means that you migrated to a country from your country. Why would they all want to come over here if they wasn't coming to anything that was already built? If that was the case, why they didn't just stay where the fuck they was at and build up their homeland?
Facts. Facts on facts on facts 100.
They came here for the American dream. They came here for a better life. They came here for resources. They came here to take. They didn't come to assimilate necessarily because they're still flying their flags and they want to create their own little subset countries within our cities. They want to bring their culture and, change people's backgrounds, their beliefs.
She right, because that's why in New York, we have Little Italy, you know what I'm saying? We got places like that. We got Chinatown. And the crazy thing, because I hear people talk about Chinatown in California and all these other places that really can't compete with Chinatown in New York. And that's facts. I ain't dragging nobody, but I'm just killing them with facts. America, when it comes to Chinese people, New York City has more Chinese people than most places. And New York also has the most Chinese restaurants per capita than any place in America. The only place that got more Chinese restaurants than New York City is China. But other than that, we got the most Chinese restaurants in America. New York is the one. You know what I'm saying? We have Little Italy, where the Jews be at, all that. Facts. You know what I'm saying? But it is a melting pot. But it wasn't built like immigrants the way people be trying to play it out to be. So I give people their props, but it wasn't the way people trying to bring the narrative, you know what I'm saying, the false narrative. But anyway, let's keep going.
And a lot of things that's going on, they want to make it more like where they come from instead of becoming actual Americans. And I also think that's a slap in the face. Now, I remember I heard somebody say, oh, when did Black Americans become American? Do you know how idiotic that sounds? I done said multiple times that y'all are forcing us to be patriotic out this bitch. Y'all are forcing it. Yes, we have a lot of gripe with this country. Yes, we have a lot of issues. A lot of horrific things has happened to us here, but we've also triumphed. We've been resilient. We've created things. We are embedded in the very fabric of this country. We are written into the Constitution. A lot of the things that my ancestors and my lineage that they fought for and that they worked for is why a lot of immigrants are able to come over here and benefit to this day. Now, I don't like to get into things I get deep, but I try to not go all the way there because I get tired of arguing with you motherfuckers. I be so tired of arguing with y'all. But the Arab community, a lot of them are very racist. The Muslim, I'm trying not to, the misogyny, the way women are treated. The Arab slave trade was the most horrific shit on planet Earth, and it's still happening to this day. Y'all better wake the fuck up. Just because somebody is singing New York by Jay-Z and eating fucking chicken wings with you, that does not mean that they have your best interest at heart. When are we going to stop falling from the fucking blood clot minstrel show? It gets to a point. It gets to a motherfucking point. A lot of those people, not all, don't fuck with the LGBTQ. A lot of the shit that you on, y'all are voting for people that are completely opposite of what your core values and beliefs are. And you just don't even fucking know it. Because you play too much into the smoke and mirrors. And in New York City, where I'm from, we had the Harlem fucking Renaissance. That was happening simultaneously with the Great Depression. Do you know how fucking magical that is?
Facts. We had the Harlem Renaissance. I'm from Harlem. She from Brooklyn, but I'm from Harlem. And I approve this message.
A Renaissance was happening. Black Americans was creating the most beautiful pieces of art. Curating the most beautiful fucking art pieces that is known to the modern world. And the rest of the world, outside of that hub, outside of that bubble, was going through a fucking Great Depression. That's how great we are. Central Park was built over a village that was filled with beautiful black people called Seneca Village. Wall Street, we built that shit. The fucking bridges, the Brooklyn Bridge, we built all of this shit. Did other people come and help and add? Yes. But did they build it? No. The foundation was already here. So it is a disrespect and a slap in the face to fucking say, it's like y'all just trying to erase Black American people. And I'm not going for that ethnic erasure. We're not going. So if I'm xenophobic for that, then so be it. I had somebody say, oh, I'm unfollowing you because you've been xenophobic. Bitch, I'm xenophobic for saying that immigrants didn't fucking build New York. Did I lie? I didn't lie. Did they add to? Yes. But you didn't build it. Y'all do that shit with every fucking thing we've accomplished. Y'all do that shit with fucking hip hop. Y'all do that shit with our hairstyles, with our style, with our vernacular. Our everything. It gets to a fucking point. Spread love is the Brooklyn way.
Yeah, it has come to my attention that there is a video going around on here where someone is outright lying that immigrants built New York City. That's a lie. I'm just going to call it for what it is. It's a fucking lie. Somebody's trying to float it and trying to get people to jump on board. We're not going to have that. Immigrants did not build New York City. Not only did they not build New York City, immigrants didn't build this country. When immigrants brought their asses over here, New York City already existed because the slaves was out there fucking building that shit for free. Because why would the immigrants want to come over here for a better life if shit wasn't already built? Right. Whoever's floating that bullshit, I'm here to call you out on it. Immigrants came here and they came to New York City. Shit was already established because slaves were breaking their back. A lot of slaves died because of the labor conditions and the living conditions that they had building this fucking country for free. So immigrants could come over and things were already built for them. Now, they might have added to it. They might have done something when they got here to what was already here. That makes sense. But no, the immigrants didn't build shit in this country. The slaves did. My fucking people did it.
Facts.
And you're not gonna float no lie and discredit the free labor and the hardships and the hell that my ancestors went through.
And that's sad that people have been doing it. That's how you can know that the world's becoming lawless and desensitized. Because why would you do that? You know what I'm saying? Why would you take credit from things that people have done, that they risked their lives, lost their lives, was treated like crap and everything, and just trying to just devalue us, you know what I'm saying? Devalue my ancestors, and that's crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? Just like when people from down south trying to get at New Yorkers and like, y'all, we don't want y'all down south. First of all, we don't care what y'all down south niggas talking about or what y'all on, because most of our grandparents and some of our uncles and aunts and even our parents come from down south. My grandmother may be from Maryland and all that, but I got grandmothers from Charleston, South Carolina and all that. I got people from North Carolina and Wilson and Charlotte and Fayetteville. You know what I'm saying? So what are you talking about? It's like y'all just be talking out your necks. Got people in ATO and all that. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep it 100. Y'all talk to out your neck. And there's a lot of New Yorkers in Florida. There's a lot of New Yorkers in ATL. So people be talking about, oh, ATL rock hip hop music, or they running. Not really, because a lot of people down there is not even really always from there. There's even when QC was down there, they from really Indianapolis. You know what I'm saying? Coach K is from Indianapolis. He ain't from ATL. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep it 100. But anyway, let's keep it going.
You're not gonna do that. And that's what it is.
No, honey. The United States was not built by immigrants. The United States was built by settlers. Immigrants like me and maybe you, we came here when everything was done, when the roads were paved, when the
I agree with him. Only thing I don't agree with was when he said the settlers. Because the only settlers that built America was the settlers that was the African slaves that built America, not the settlers that they came over here with.
Structure was done, when electricity was here. America was built by settlers, and the difference is the settlers came here to buried lands, to the plains of the Americas, where there was absolutely nothing, and they built cities, and they built the railways, and they built everything else. We are not the same as the settlers. We come here.
Actually, the Chinese helped build the railways, not the subway systems of New York, but they did help build the railways. And then they was basically kicked out of America. And then for a long time, America wouldn't allow any other people from any other nation to come over here until the civil rights movement. And that's facts. You know what I'm saying? Even Japanese that was over here was put in concentration camps. That's why they end up getting reparations. But as you notice, my people don't get anything, and we was done the worst. But you know what I'm saying? Let's keep going.
And we enjoy the privilege of being in the United States and take advantage of everything that the United States has to offer us. The settlers weren't offered anything. The settlers came here and built everything, so privileged people like me and you can come here in the United States and live and chase the American dream. We are not legal here, we are privileged to be here. So to say that the United States was built by immigrants is not true. Secondly, it's not stolen land, it's conquered land. There were wars, and wars were lost, and some won, and some lost.
I don't agree with that. That's BS. It's stolen land, because when they went against the indigenous people of this continent, you know what I'm saying, they was letting them be on land and all that, but then they want to overtake the land. That wasn't really wars based off of like if Russia or America go to war or China or North Korea go to war and they lose wars. This was basically almost on the level of a civil war. Even though they wasn't the same people, it was on the same land. That was stolen land. They basically it went like a war, but it was only a war because the Indians, the Native Americans, was trying to protect their lands, and they got overthrown. That's not the same type of war, you know what I'm saying, as we see nowadays. That's a different type of war. That wasn't really a war the way we would have a war. That was basically them defending their land, and then they got overtaken. So yeah, they was forced out of their land. That's stolen land. No matter how you try to sugarcoat that. Stolen land, bro. That ain't no, oh, they lost the thing. No.
And now the people that lost are calling it, oh, you stole my land. No,
No, they saying it right.
you lost the war.
Must admit that most people that say they Indian today is not Indian. They pretend Indians because a lot of people of them is European descent that paid $5 to get on the road, the Indian road when it came to the reservations and all that. I even have a friend who mama claimed her mama is Indian, but if you look at them, you don't see none of them features. They look European. And then on top of it, the Native Americans not really native to this land either because they came across the bridge on on the Bering Strait to from my Asia Minor to here. That's why like Native Americans look Asian.
That's it. There's nothing more to it. Everybody that had ever been in the military knows that the number one equation to know if you're winning the war is how much land you're conquering.
That's not true because that was the case when we won wars in Iraq, we won wars in Iran, or wherever we won wars at. Yeah, we may have an embassy there or a military base there, but we don't run the land. It's still the people that own that country's land. So I don't know what he's talking about, but yeah, that's true to me.
That's it. You didn't got land stolen. The land was conquered because some people lost
It was stolen.
the war. And also, let's not forget the treaty between Texas and Mexico. So if you're an American, you should know that because it's part of your country's history.
We are a nation of immigrants.
America did the same thing they did to the Native Americans when it come to land. They was overtaken and took their land. So he talking about the Texas and Mexican treaty that wouldn't even exist if they wasn't forced out of their land. You know what I'm saying? Like Arizona, Oklahoma. Those are part of Mexican land. Come on, let's keep it 100.
This country was not built by immigrants. This country was built by settlers who came here and built this country from nothing.
Because crossing borders is only heroic when white.
It was built by the settlers, enslaved Africans. It wasn't built by the settlers themselves. Matter of fact, most of the settlers didn't even know how to farm or any of those things. And people may make it seem like, oh, the Africans learned to trade. First of all, if you look at Africa and the Moors and all of them, they was doing things that Europeans was never doing, like washing up, all that. They taught them mad stuff. You know what I mean? So when they be up there like, oh, they learned to trade out of it, that's a lie. That's a lie from hell. That's falsehood because they was building more than huts and all that in Africa. Wherever I remember Timbuktu and places of nature, Egypt. Egypt is actually African. It's not actually Arabic or what they trying to make it be now. It was actually Nubian. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I rebuke all them lies and deceit. You know what I'm saying? We was been building stuff. We've been having engineers. We've been doing that stuff when we were a part of the African diaspora. I mean, we kind of are now, but not really because we like so like the years has went on so far to over 500 years that we like mad distance from all that. You know what I'm saying? Like out of sight, out of mind. So when even when Africans be like, oh, y'all got that from us. No, we didn't because we wasn't around y'all. So that sounds stupid. And when y'all trying to diss us and the ancestors, they was your ancestors too, and you may not even know that. So it's stupid when y'all do that. We don't talk about y'all unless y'all talking about us. We live rent free in your head. For what? I don't know. Then y'all act like we don't have no culture, which we have. We are the culture. You know what I'm saying? We beat y'all financially. We beat y'all with as degree holders. We beat y'all with revenue far as spending power. And this is the whole diaspora versus Black Americans, FBA adults. We beat y'all 9 million degrees to UK's 2.7. We have 1.9 trillion in spending power. That's more than Africa combined with the UK. The only ones who even in our down with us on the level might be Ethiopia or matter of fact Egypt or something like that. All your countries is new from the 1950s and 60s. The only one that's old is America or might even be older than America is Morocco, Egypt, and Ethiopia. Other than that, all them other countries came out in the 1950s and 60s. So they be like, oh, we know where we're from. My mother's from Kenya and my daddy's from here. It's because they're going by the places that they are now. But when my mama was born in 1949, none of them places exist. The only places that exist, like I said, was Morocco, Egypt, and Ethiopia. When my grandma was born, 1925, Ghana, Nigeria, Angola, none of them places exist. My great grandma was born 1895. None of them places exist. My great great grandma was born in 1800s. None of them places exist. Ghana, Nigeria, Benin, oh, any of them. None of them places exist. Like only what I said exists. That's true. Is Ethiopia, Egypt, and Morocco. So yeah, when people be saying all this craziness, I be looking at them like they stupid. We've been here longer than those countries been alive. Those countries, I've been around. I mean, those countries like 50, 60 years. They're not even old. You know what I'm saying? My Nigeria is only 6 years older than my sister. My sister's only 6 years older than me. Now I'm 53. Come on, man, get a clue. You know what I'm saying? Even when Jamaica and Haiti be saying they stuff, I'll be looking at them like they crazy. Like, yo, come on, man, get a clue.
White people do it. I hate to break it to you, Settler Dan, but your ancestors and mine too
She called him Settler Dan. That was funny.
were the original illegal aliens. What do you call white people who cross the ocean, show up uninvited to land already inhabited by indigenous people who have lived there for thousands of years?
Immigrants. Illegal immigrants.
And then destroy their cultures, their languages, their religion, and impose your own? Settlers, or rather, colonizers. And then what do you call people of color who cross the border, work jobs that nobody else wants to work, pay taxes, and try to build a life in the so-called land of opportunity? Illegals. Illegal aliens. Criminals. If you're white, it's exploration. You're a pioneer. You're a settler. And if you're not, you're an invader. And for the record, it wasn't the colonizers that built the United States. It was the immigrants that came after them from every corner of the globe. They built the railroads, the roads, the factories, the farms. They built the United States.
Actually, Black Americans built Wall Street, the Capitol, the White House, and that's facts. But we're going to get into it like I said.
So this brilliant so-called journalist says New York City wasn't built by immigrants. And this is the answer. Not only was it built by immigrants, it's still being built by immigrants. It's better to be thought of as a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt that that's exactly what you are. When you don't know history, you should keep your mouth shut.
He should be all the way quiet too. Because I'm reading this new caption saying New York City was literally founded by the Dutch. Actually, New York City wasn't founded by the Dutch. York was. Because when the Dutch was there in my state, it was called York. It was not called New York. They called it York. Harlem is a Dutch word. That's where the word Harlem comes from, with two L's instead of one. You know what I'm saying? It was Harlem, New York. It was called York. It was not called New York. When they was chased, the Dutch was chased out, and that's how you got Dutch Pennsylvania with the what they call the Amish. You know what I'm saying? They call it Dutch country, and they call it Lancaster, even though it's Lancaster. They call it Lancaster in Pennsylvania. When the British took over that land, which I come from, it got changed to New York. New York. But it was named after the Duke of York, but it turned to New York City. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, both of y'all wrong, and there was no Dominicans there then. Even if you watch movies like Gangs of New York, they talking about there was Irish. The Irish were treated just like black people at one point. You know what I'm saying? But the Jews, the Puerto Ricans, the Dominicans, they did not exist in New York back then. When New York was first being built with all that stuff, New York, I'm telling you the truth. I'm from there, born and raised in 1972, but I know the history of my city. There was no Dominicans and Puerto Ricans there back then, because y'all keep forgetting it was a time when America wasn't letting people come over here, period.
It just makes you look stupid like every other MAGA Trump supporter. Try reading a fucking book. Jesus Christ, you people are so fucking stupid. It's mind-numbing how stupid you are.
We are a nation of immigrants. This country was not built by immigrants. This country was built by settlers who came here and built this country from nothing.
Oh, good. I get to do one of these again. So you said white people came here and built this country from nothing. Let's talk about that. The first successful colony that would become the United States was Jamestown in 1607. Before Jamestown, there were 3 failed colonies. They either starved to death, were wiped out, or died by disease. Or in the case of Roanoke, we have no idea. But even Jamestown was barely a success. The colonizers showed up without any farming knowledge. On many occasions, several of them starved to death, and it was the Powhatan people, the indigenous tribe, that saved the colony.
That's where the word Manhattan comes from New York City. I'm from Manhattan/Harlem.
They captured John Smith to find out what they were doing there, and then they gave them food, free handouts. That act of generosity kept them alive until a supply ship showed up. Did they learn their lesson and learn how to farm? No, they nearly starved again. And what saved them this time? A slave ship showed up. In 1619, the first enslaved Africans were brought to Jamestown. And it was through that, forced labor, that the colony...
Don't accuse me. Why do people always skip history? Like I said, the first black people was in the continent of the North Americas since 1513. But you won't hear that. Or you won't hear about 1523 or 1565 in St. Augustine, Florida. You know what I'm saying? Or the 100 slaves that revoked and escaped and lived among the Indians near South Carolina, the border to Georgia. They always start with Jamestown, and that's not true. We've been here hundreds of years before Jamestown. Our people first came over here in 1513, not in 1619. You know what I'm saying? And that's facts.
He finally became stable. So no, it wasn't white settlers that built this country from nothing. Left to their own devices, they would have died, and maybe they should have. But it was Native Americans and enslaved Africans that saved them. And that's the truth.
Let me tell you, this country wasn't founded by illegal immigrants. It was founded by settlers who came here to build the country, not bring it down.
You are not slick. To start off, no human being is illegal. Seeking a safe place to live is a human right. But listen, y'all, when we talk about a colonizer mindset, this is it. This is a great example. If we were to just look at things from a very basic perspective, both settlers and migrants crossed borders to seek opportunities. So to try to say that settlers were good and migrants are bad is at the very least ignorant. But let's dive a little deeper, because there is no such thing as a good settler. During their arrival, they displaced indigenous communities that were already here. They harmed those communities by forcefully taking their land and changing their way of life. And that was done through violence, coercion, and broken treaties. And those settlers didn't come here the legal way. They would have done what they did during our current immigration system. It would not be legal at all. But familia, if you agree with me, give me a follow and leave a comment saying no human being is illegal. Gracias.
And on the wider point about who the United States should let in, what is your view of that? I mean, obviously America was founded in a very multicultural way.
America wasn't founded by grabbing a bunch of dudes from other countries, bringing them here, giving them free apartments and welfare. It was by people who wanted to escape religious persecution, and they started building.
It's like he jumped like he just had a light bulb pop over his head and had an epiphany.
Building things, not just coming here getting handouts. I mean, I've been a lot of places and I've seen a lot of people, and as soon as the truth is told and you don't like it, you just say racist.
Let's talk about the truth there, Pierce. I got to jump in here. When we talk about the founding of America, it was founded by European colonizers, built on the backs of enslaved Africans and on the genocide of indigenous people. To claim that it wasn't, just free handout, it literally was. The Homestead Act, which was finally repealed in 1987, gave hundreds of millions of acres of free land to white European immigrants while denying them to the descendants of enslaved Africans. And so even to this day, the single demographic, the largest demographic on public welfare are white Americans. But there is no accountability and restitution or reparations for the enslaved Africans and their descendants who suffered genocide. And we rewrite this history. Well, we built up our bootstraps. No, you didn't. You built up on the backs of the enslaved Africans. And to the comment that Islam is new to America, 1/3 of those Africans were Muslim, who were forced into Christianity, who were beaten and murdered and raped.
But the only thing I gotta say about the Christianity thing is that Ethiopia been following Christianity way before Europe even knew what Christianity was. Way before there was a Constantine. Way before there was a Council of Nicaea. Ethiopia was already following Yeshua HaMashiach, which is his real name, but y'all call him Jesus the Christ. Um, Actually, they Bible is more authentic than ours. It's never been tainted. It never been flipped like our Bible, Western Bible has. It's actually 1600 years older than our Bible. So when you talk about Bible reading and studying, you gotta ask yourself, what would you rather have? The Western Bibles that we use, or Britain and whoever else use, or the Bible that been around 1600 years before the so-called Bible we have?
This is the legacy of this country.
I knew when Mondani was like how immigrants built New York City, there was going to be a diaspora worship. I just kind of knew. Like, I knew. So,
Of course you do, because you're an immigrant. So of course I can see it on you. So yeah, and in your voice. So here go another one that's gonna co-sign this. But like I said, I ain't saying the immigrants didn't do anything, but the way they trying to run the narrative, you don't really hear them saying a lot about Black American ancestors, and they always trying to make it seem like immigrants built New York City or whatever, and that's not true. They added on, but as far as like building infrastructure itself, no, they did not.
which I find so crazy because New York City like was built by immigrants, but not only immigrants, also Black Americans. Because I see a lot of people trying to
Guys, she did that. She said not only by immigrants but Black Americans. No, you mean by Black Americans with the help of immigrants coming along after a while. You see, that's how they trying to put us in the back burner and put the immigrants on the front. Come on, dude. You're goofy.
discredit the immigrants that built this, helped build the city. Like, hello, who do y'all think built the skyscrapers? Who do y'all think built the bridge, the tunnels? Like there's a lot of things.
She don't know nothing about New York. I bet she's like, I'm a New Yorker. No, I'm a New Yorker tried and true. You know what I'm saying? These people just be talking and don't know what they talking about.
That immigrants like helped contribute to what New York City is today. Like, look at New York City culture. Yes, New York City culture has the, Black American with the jazz, the hip hop, but they also have a lot of stuff like in the Bronx, there's a lot of bachata, there's a lot of dembo music. Like in Brooklyn, yeah, there's still fucking, hip hop, but there's a lot of Caribbeans like here that listen to a lot of Caribbean music. Like, immigrants also
Reggae comes from a spin off of Motown sound, which is Black American music. So I'll let her talk, but yeah, no facts before you speak.
play a role in, New York City culture. Like,
Even salsa music, salsa dancing is actually an African thing. It's not really Latin. It's actually not Latin or Spanish. Salsa actually comes from Africa. I have to give credit where credit is due.
There's so much diversity. You could literally go to every country by just taking a fucking train. You feel me?
That's true.
I mean, like, and I just don't like that y'all, like, there's some people trying to discredit the fact that immigrants didn't build New York City when
They really didn't, but like I said, they helped. But like I said, she's trying to take up for the immigrants, but you do the Black Americans and the back burner and try to put the immigrants in the front when it's actually vice versa.
yes, they played a part in what New York City is today. Like, hello?
I feel like everyone wants to take credit for what America has become, or what it is today as it stands today, while simultaneously kind of discrediting and undermining the fact that there was hundreds of years of evils and atrocities that happened to even get America to the point where people would even want to be here at all, that people would want to migrate over here. Because the truth be told is nobody in their right mind would leave their homeland, their family, their friends, to come to a place that didn't already have some level of opportunity.
I agree with her, because most people came over here and heard stories about America. They heard stories about New York City, and people got to understand slaves built Ellis Island. And the crazy thing is that way before there was an Ellis Island, Black enslaved people was already building America, New York City and all that, and that's facts.
Opportunity that wasn't already built up with some type of infrastructure. Like, immigration didn't really start happening heavily until like the 20s and 30s. And I'm not saying that to undermine any any person who was an immigrant came over here and made a great life for themselves. But what I am saying is that it seems like when it comes time to be proud of like who you've become as an immigrant and what you've built and what you've established here, it's like it's all good, like because your family's from somewhere else and you're proud of what you created over here. But at the same time, whenever a person who doesn't have an immigrant background, like the foundational Black Americans, the freedmen, or even the whites, the people who were descendants of the white slave owners, right? Like basically, if you don't have an immigrant story, you don't have an immigrant background, that's when it becomes a problem for you to show pride in being American or having foundational American roots. That's when people start to bring up, oh, well, this is stolen land. This country was built on stolen land. You're not truly American because you're not a Native American. So I feel like if you don't have an immigrant background and you are part of the lineage of people who came from centuries of atrocities on this land, you're not really allowed to have pride in what you contribute or what your lineage contributed. You're not really allowed to like be proud to be American, right? You're only allowed to be proud to be American if you're not from America. You're only allowed to say that you built something and built up something if you have an immigrant background. And that's just something that I noticed. Like, not really something I normally speak on, but I noticed it. Everybody wants to take credit for it's built up into a great place. And a lot of people had contributed to this. But all I'm saying is it just seems like you're only allowed to say that you built up America as long as you were not a part, your lineage doesn't go back to the foundation of America as a nation.
Here we are, Mr. Trump, why are you trying to destroy America? We're trying to build it up from the bottom to the top. Thank you so much.
Who built New York City? New York's new mayor, Zoran Namdani. I probably butchered it, so I apologize. I was with his speech and everything he had going all the way up until he said New York City was built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and now ran by immigrant, whatever the hell. Get that part, but it was not built by immigrants. It was built by enslaved Black Americans. Let's not erase history. And this be my issue sometimes when immigrants get in power. It's like y'all want to erase the history and the foundation of America. And it kind of annoys me sometimes because it's just like you could have said built by enslaved Africans, developed by immigrants. He said nothing about American citizens at all in the ending of that speech at all. He gave all the credit to immigrants. And New York City does have the highest population of immigration. Definitely understand that it is a multicultural city. That's what makes New York what it is. Definitely love that, but let's not discredit people. Let's not discredit actual American citizens, okay? I don't know, y'all could chew me up in the comments, but I just pay attention to little stuff like that, and yeah, I just wasn't feeling that part, so And I did do my research on him, and I see that he was campaigning in clubs and churches. He was campaigning to Jews. Like, he was hitting every corner, Caribbeans, Latinos, Black Americans. He has been hitting every corner of campaigning. But let's be real. We know how campaigning works. You got to get people on your team. I'll continue to do more research on him because I don't know too much about him. And, yeah, I don't know. It's just something a little, I don't know. And just an FYI, Black Americans are not immigrants to America. Okay?
J.D. Vance was proving that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He was doing an interview on CBS Face the Nation in which he was grilled on immigration, notably the claim that America was founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by...
country.
This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers, but just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world.
Really good response from JD here, and I'm glad he got this settler word in, because just at a very literal historical level, America was not founded by immigrants. That's just a lie. The libs say it all the time. They've been especially saying it since the middle of the 20th century onward, but that is just part of the liberal mythos. That isn't real. America...
settlers, immigrants, they're not indigenous to the continent. So technically that would be migrating, which equals to immigration. Yeah. I'm a very over-analytical, technical, detail-oriented person. So yeah, that's how I'm looking at it.
America was founded by settlers. The Pilgrims on the Mayflower were not immigrants. They were settlers. Many of the other people who came were settlers. They came to a new land. They settled treaties with some of the people who were still there, even though it was a largely barren land, but there were still some people there. They established treaties. They had alliances. They fought wars. Sometimes wars were launched on them, and ultimately they conquered and won. And back in those days, we still had a notion of the right of conquest, the law of conquest. And then now we have a country. There is very, very...
Even prove my point when the other dude was talking about, oh, that's how wars are done, who has the most land. As you can see, there was conquests. That wasn't a war the way people make it seem like it was. You know what I'm saying? Like wars in, we have other countries. We usually don't take their land and all that stuff, like with China or with Iran, Iraq, or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Very little similarity between the settlers who came on the Mayflower and some MS-13 gang member who hops the wall on the Rio Grande and comes into America to bring fentanyl.
So much to protest right now, y'all. We live in a country that was built by immigrants.
So you telling me these are the people that built America? These people couldn't even build a wardrobe. It took black Americans to modernize Africans. And don't get on here talking about being xenophobic, because they have Natural Geographic African edition and they're not banned. You just have a problem with seeing who you really are. Y'all are embarrassed by who you came from and where you came from, because those are your peoples, right? You could bring up slavery. I'm not embarrassed about no slavery. Like, that's a story of resistance. But y'all are embarrassed by who you came from and where you came from. Because if you wasn't cosplaying black Americans, this would be your wardrobe, okay? Now, there's a verse by Jay-Z that says, hey, they claiming that they made Hove. Then won't they make another Hove? Y'all claiming that y'all make America. Why don't you go build another America, right, in your countries? Y'all came over here looking for an opportunity, not bringing an opportunity, but now all of a sudden y'all Bob the builders, right? But when you was in Africa, what was you building? When you was in the Caribbean, what was you building, man? Yeah, it's just strange how black immigrants get all these superpowers once they leave their countries. All of a sudden they Confucius. They know all the solutions to all the problem. But back at home in Africa, they don't have no solutions, none. Back home in Caribbeans, in Jamaica, can't even step a foot onto your beach, man.
That's why I say what I was saying about people, man. They be piggy banking on the backs of black people, and then make it seem like they did this and they did that, and it don't be true. I give credit where credit is due. America was built by black Americans, like I said, our ancestors.
The United States of America is a country that is founded on stolen land from the indigenous peoples. Not only that, but the indigenous peoples from coast to coast faced consistent historical and still modern day genocide attempts by waves of Christian, European immigrants, descendants, colonizers, whatever you want to call them. But if you are saying that the United States is a Christian country founded by Christians for themselves, you need to recognize that they came as one colonizers, as settlers, as illegal aliens, and they killed and raped and just destroyed everything that was in their path in their feeling of ownership over land that absolutely was not theirs, and in their their superiority complex as Christians. Then on top of that, we can add what Christians did in the name of their own religion to the enslaved Africans that were first kidnapped from the continent of Africa and then brought here, forced to convert to Christianity, and the horrors that were done to them for generations, not just while technically enslaved.
Like I said, Christianity was already in Africa before it was in Europe. So they gave them a bastardized version of Christianity. Yeah, but a lot of Africans knew about Christianity way before Europe.
But also during Jim Crow and the years since, and still very much today, what they have had to face if they are descendants of those enslaved people, which again, white Europeans who were Christian and are Christian today are still doing all of this in the name of their religion because their feeling of rightness gives them the out in their mind that they then can go do whatever it is that they want because they're right and they are the superior people. This is just two examples of the many, many other ethnic groups that have been treated in the most horrific fashion by white European Americans, most of which, if not all of which, identify as Christian, and most of which used their Christian ideology to justify, explicitly used Christianity as a justification for the most barbaric actions.
You know, it's a crazy thing because I can see that she's Muslim, Islamic, you know what I mean? And they're not exempt from anything until my barbaric. Because we can talk about the Sudan and all that, how they was forcing people, killing the men, forcing the women and the children into Islam. You know what I'm saying? So that's the pot calling the kettle black. And I ain't trying to hear her because, like I said, Christianity was in Africa way before Europe.
That they committed. So anyone making the case that Christians, one, created a Christian country, one, you're just factually wrong. The United States is not now, nor has it ever been a Christian country, but even...
And that's what I agree with because they was not built off of Christianity, not America. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't built off of Christianity. It was built off of traditions of men, like they was Masons and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Which is true people that's in Christianity will not be a Freemason or anything like that. They wouldn't be Illuminati. So they'd be like, oh, the Illuminati. And first of all, Illuminati is Bavarians, and it's been disbanded, and they would have never let African Americans into that. You know what I'm saying? People need to do their research at home.
Aside from that Christians created the United States for themselves. One, they absolutely did not create this country. The country that they forcibly used other people's labor and toil to create. So if there's a difference between them creating it and them like whipping other people in order to create it for them. Many black creators will mention, and rightfully so, it really is black people and other ethnic groups that were brought in later to build railroads. But those are the people, especially black Americans who are descendants of those enslaved Africans. They are the ones who get credit, if you will, for creating this country. Absolutely not white European Christians. But even if you absolutely will not let go of the fact that white European Christians are the ones who built this country, which no, they didn't again, but let's say that you will absolutely not let go of that thought, then fine. You also get to claim credit for all of the horrors that they did in the name of Christianity.
Good morning. You know, you could just Google things before you call people liars. All right, let's take it point by point. You said black people didn't build the USA. Okay. But
a lot of people used to think that the North didn't have slaves, but that is not true.
1860, there were more millionaires, they were all slaveholders, living in the lower Mississippi Valley than anywhere else in the United States. In the same year, the nearly 4 million American enslaved people, worth some $3.5 billion, making them the largest single financial asset in the United States.
And that's true. Slaves was more valuable than land and houses.
Economy, worth more than all manufacturing and railroads combined. You mentioned slavery in the North. About 1/5 of New York City's population during enslavement was enslaved. There were over 1,000 documented visits of slave ships in and out of New England. About 5,000 documented slaves in the state of Connecticut. As many as 20% of colonial New Yorkers were enslaved Africans. The city's economy was largely built around sugar, tobacco, indigo, coffee, chocolate, and ultimately cotton. Those are industries that tend to use enslaved labor. Almost every businessman in 18th century New York had a stake in enslavement. 41% of New York City households had enslaved people, 6% in Philly, 2% in Boston. Now, you specifically mentioned the industrial North. How do you think the U.S., or what would become the U.S., made enough money to spur an industrial revolution? You guessed it, through the capital made in the transatlantic slave trade. And through the money not spent on labor by enslaving the people doing the work. Where do you think the mills in the industrial North were getting their raw materials? From a variety of places, including the South, reliant on slave labor. All right, time for your last point. You said America didn't bring slaves, which I imagine is reductive, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you were running out of text. If you are referring to the ban on the importation of enslaved people, that didn't happen until 1808, so America was already America. And if you're referring to the amount of people taken from Africa and brought to other places during enslavement, some 12 to 13 million people, not all of them went to the U.S. or what would become the U.S., but plenty of them did. Unless you're talking about the literal ownership of the ships that brought enslaved people to the Americas, those were likely European. Oh, and when deportation was banned, they still brought people from Africa illegally, and then they made these things called breeding farms, which were horrific ways to reproduce the enslaved population.
Yeah.
And the next time you want to call somebody a liar, you could use Google. It's free.
Welcome back. You see what they're all saying, right? Settlers, it was built by immigrants. But let's get into it. America can call itself a nation of immigrants all it wants. But history is clear. Immigrants came to a house already built, a nation already rising, an economy already thriving, a culture already forming, a system already constructed by Black Americans.
And what she's saying is right. So what I'm about to do, baby, is we about to go look at some facts. You know what I'm saying? Some faculty facts. You know what I'm saying? Because these are the truths right here. Like, people be making it seem like, oh, very good. Just nah, yo. Check this out. Here we right here. We gonna expand this. You know what I mean? We gonna put that right there. We gonna expand it more. No, let me see. Hold it like that. You know what I'm saying? We can put it like this if we need be. Know what I mean? But if you read this, you know what I'm saying? Let's get into it. Hold up. All right, here we go. We're going to start right here. The physical infrastructure and landmarks. Enslaved people didn't just provide labor. They were the skilled craftsmen, blacksmiths, bricklayers, and carpenters who built the symbols of America, democracy, and commerce. The White House and the U.S. Capitol, enslaved people were involved in every stage of construction, from quarrying the stone to laying the foundation and framing the structures. Wall Street. The name itself is a reminder of the wooden wall built by enslaved laborers in 1653 to protect the Dutch colony of New Amsterdam. They also paved many of the original streets in Lower Manhattan. And then it says universities, prestigious Ivy League schools like Harvard, Yale, and Princeton, as well as the University of Virginia, was built by enslaved people and often funded by the profits of the slave trade. Number 2, the economy engine, King Cotton. Before the Industrial Revolution took off in the North, the American economy was powered by agricultural exports produced by enslaved labor. global impact. By the mid-1800s, the South provided 77% of the cotton used in Great Britain. This white gold fueled the textile mills of the North and Europe, making the U.S. a global player. Capital accumulation. The wealth generated from tobacco, rice, indigo, and later cotton provided the capital that allowed the United States to eventually invest in railroads, factories, and Western expansion. That's why I say when it comes to America being built, it was built on the backs of my people, not immigrants. Because without us, they wouldn't even have the capital or the money or anything to do that. Let's go to the next one. 3, agricultural innovation. It wasn't just an unskilled work. Enslaved people brought specific expertise that changed American land. Rice cultivation, because rice actually comes from Africa. If y'all don't know that, that's where it comes from. Enslaved people from West Africa brought in a sophisticated engineering knowledge requirement for tidal irrigation systems used in South Carolina and Georgia rice coast plantations. Clearing the wilderness, vast tracts of the American South and Mid-Atlantic was transferred from dense woods to productive farmland entirely through the manual clearing of land by enslaved workers. The timeline perspective. To the point about immigrants, while the great wave of European immigration happened between 1880 and 1920, enslaved Africans have already been a primary labor force for over 200 years, starting in 1619. By the time the Statue of Liberty was even a concept, the core layout and wealth of the nation has been established. You know what I'm saying? That's what that says. But I also read about the subway stations being done by the by Irish people. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to the railways in America, before the Chinese was kicked out and exiled from coming to America for a while, the railroads was built with their help. And I have to give credit where it's credit's due. Now, in modern America, I could say immigrants did a lot of things. Like when the ladies talked about the Brooklyn Bridge being built by Germans. It wasn't built by Germans. It was the architect was German. The architect who created the design. Just like the George Washington Bridge. It wasn't built by Swedish people. It was a dude from Sweden who built, not built, but designed the George Washington Bridge. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'm out of here. I got things to do. You know what I'm saying? We'll get back on this on another time. You know what I mean? Because I got other stuff to catch up with, like recording and writing, finishing and writing of my songs. But anyway, y'all have a blessed one. I'm going to drop a song at the end of this one called Seeds of Hope, Roots of Pain, dealing with subjects of Black America and the war with the diasporas, Black diaspora. But anyway, y'all have a blessed and beautiful one. Like I said, check out my music. Got a new album out, Harlem Nights in Indianapolis. I got Vendetta Music also and Cold Red Old Heads. You know what I'm saying? You can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, Reverb Nation, SoundCloud. You know, you can follow me on X, or you can follow me on Instagram under I am KSG via Faith. You know what I mean? You can find me on TikTok under So Infinity. You know what I'm saying? KSG via Faith. I also have a KSG via Faith TikTok. I got 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? You can follow me on Facebook under So Infinity Music Works or KSG via Faith. You know what I mean? I'm also KSG via Faith on Fan Base and on Thread. You know what I'm saying? Check out my merchandise at TeePublic, at BB Amore, Lyrical Design. You can check out my website, soinfinitymusicworks.com. You can buy music from there too. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, y'all have a blessed one. Love you guys. What I'm about to say is from the depths of my soul, being translated through hip hop. Some of y'all might feel it, some of y'all might not. But it don't matter. It's how I feel. Let's go. Rain and songs connect my doors, make me a leader, not a boss. Unnatural, that's for real, you can tell how I come across. Yo, my lines are never forced, let my soul take its course. The enemy planting seed to cultivate and feed the lost. Tired of my people getting caught up, going in and out of court. Dreams slowly fade away, plus all that we were taught. From dead bodies off to slave to being neglected, just tossed to the fight for civil rights. How many have we lost? I'm so tired of the ignorant shit we keep dealing with. Stupid ass people think we ain't equal. Who the fuck you think you is? You're not God, but push hard and be moving like you is. Used to use my people, baby, just to alligator fish. Hang us high over lives, immature was just a kid. Beat to death, face respect, nothing but evil and disrespect. Shun the truth, just deflect. Hatred lingers in the air. Gotta look over shoulder even when it comes to my peers. What the fuck? Road to pain, through the storm we break the chain. From the shadow we reclaim, in the struggle strip we gain. From the action we sustain, and our blood is not in vain. Rise above the sun and rain, one day we should reign. Teach the hope, root to pain. Through the storm we break the chains. From the shadow we reclaim, and the struggle strip we gain. From the action we sustain, and our blood is not in vain. Rise above through sun and rain, one day we should reign. The world trying to play this close, condescending with their quotes. Even those who look like us, try to come and join the roast. When we think much from y'all, but y'all got shit from us. More than hip-hop to the way you dress, and the slang that you talk. What the fuck wrong with y'all? I gotta pull your car. Who was fighting for Sun City when it was disrespecting y'all? Who was donating money when it was fucking over y'all? Pan-African movers fucking out here going hard. Yo, I really gotta know what the fuck we did to y'all. Let me guess, y'all got pressed, told live to disconnect. We was told that y'all hate us, Willie Lynch in effect. Yo, we need to regroup, get our people back in check. Yo, fuck a middleman, yo, we can go direct. So fuck what they talking with no due respect. These are hope, roots of pain. Through the storm we break the chain. From the shadow we reclaim, in the struggle strip we gain. From the action we sustain, and our blood is not in vain. Rise above the sun and rain, one day we should reign. These are hope, roots of pain. Through the storm we break the chain. From the shadow we reclaim, in the struggle strip we gain. From the action we sustain, and our blood is not in vain. Rise above through sun and rain, one day we shall reign.